How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTCReaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether the price is going up or down. So over on Dixie for the daily, we do have our potential final shoulder. So watch if we get another red candle. If we get another red candle, that head and shoulders could form here, and we could see that break down possibly toward that 100 area. Our momentum is dropping down. VWAP does have lower lows, and we are starting to pull back for a potential lower high. If we get that lower high, momentum likely will continue lower, and money flow would start to pull back, giving us that sell-off. Again, watch for lower lows and lower highs from this point, as we would need to break, I'd say, our neckline, which would be a bit of a slanted neckline the way this is looking. And then you would measure your break up, or your breakdown scenario in this case, from your head down to your neckline, apply that down, and that would give us a break around that 104. If we don't get a higher high with higher lows in that area, that's where we would see that further drop. And remember, when Dixie does drop, usually Bitcoin does push up. So over on Bitcoin dominance, we are seeing a continuation of a push down. We did warn that we could see a push up, but we aren't really seeing too much bullish indicators yet. The only bullish factor we have is we've seen a lot of red candles. And remember, when you see a lot of red or a lot of green, usually you do see a retracement one way or the other. RSI is pulling back, VWAP is pretty flat, momentum is weakening, and the money flow is losing strength. If that VWAP does not become bullish, then it's very likely we would continue to push down and see a rejection here on dominance. Remember, that would just mean that our altcoins would continue to outperform Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, we got a little bit of a gain. That gain just kind of squeaked by in the last kind of few hours. Over on total for the daily, we did get our full breakup from our lower time frame flag possibility, so we will delete this as we've hit the top of our channel, and now there is a potential of pulling back. Remember, a pullback toward the 936 and a bounce would be ideal, because that would give us a support range there and then push us forward for bullish momentum to continue. Stochastic does want to push up, RSI is pretty flat, money flow is in the green, and VWAP is pretty flat. It is bullish, but doesn't have very much strength, so I would just watch very close. Over on the 1 hour, there is a potential of 40% chance that we break to the 128 trillion, so that would be a decent push forward, but there's a higher probability of us making a lower high and breaking away. Right now, we do technically have a higher high forming here, so that scenario where we get a lower high may not happen if we don't get lower highs and lower lows by breaking away where we are now and then seeing a rejection. If we continue to push forward, then it's likely we would continue up toward that 128. Our stochastic is pushing up, RSI is gaining strength, momentum is pushing forward as that VWAP is bullish and the money flow is in the green. So overall, we do look pretty positive here. Over on Bitcoin futures, we have a bit of a consolidation possibly going on here. We did try to break forward, but we really didn't go too far. We did pull back to that 94.5 we did warn about last night. RSI is pretty flat, momentum is weakening, VWAP is favoring bearish, and the money flow is starting to pull back, so I would watch those lower time frames. Over on the 1 hour, we have quite a bit going on the MPP. So we have a lower high, which is trying to pull us back. So we have lower highs with lower lows. This is creating a bit of a bearish trend right here. This bearish trend right here could break us down if we don't get higher high with higher lows in this range right now. If we don't break above, I'd say this 97,255 and hold, then it's likely we would see that pullback to around 91K now. But if we do see the push forward and we do manage to hold here, we will have a push up to around 99K, it says. That VWAP is holding bullish, but we have a lower high, momentum is pushing up, and money flow is in the green. So this does have the potential to push us forward. I would just warn against a push forward, because with that VWAP weakening while price pushes up, that means a push forward may not be sustainable. So if we do break that 100K, we could easily flash back down below it. So over on Bitcoin, it's probably going to be very similar. We did get our buy yesterday. We didn't quite get our buy. We got just shy of that buy, as we probably should hit a little closer to that support resistance area. Again, showing how those support resistances work and how they do come into play later. So now you can see that that area was retested and we did make a bounce. We will cover that on the lower time frame. RSI is pulling back. Momentum is rounding. We have a red dot as our VWAP breaks bearish, and money flow is pulling back. So I would watch that VWAP close. If it continues to get lower highs and lower lows here with bearish favor, momentum will break down, money flow will break down, and we will break that 93K and push down toward around 81K, it says. So ideally, it would be a little higher as futures doesn't have quite that breakdown, but remember, futures does have that gap to the downside still. So over on the 1 hour, very similar to futures, where if we don't get higher highs with higher lows in this range right where we are, then we will not push to that 100K and we will drop down to 91K instead. Our stochastic does want to round, RSI is starting to pull back. That VWAP is in bullish territory with lower highs. So again, if we do push forward from here with that VWAP staying bullish, momentum staying bullish, and money flow flipping green, that run may not be sustainable and we may see it fade away if we do break that 100K. So I would warn against any push forward on both futures and Bitcoin the way they're looking. So over on graph for the daily, we do have a push toward that 31,954. We have been saying to watch for this. We did say watch for a break of it, but we have not been able to break. So we may see a bit of a retracement depending on how the rest of the market pulls. Remember, this total does want to push up. So if total is going to push up, most likely graph is going to follow. Stochastic is pretty flat, RSI is running up, momentum is gaining strength, money flow is pushing up, and the VWAP does want to break that neutral, so watch that VWAP close. If it breaks neutral and holds, we could have a slightly higher low with higher highs. That could push us forward, but if that VWAP rejects, we could see the bears gain control here. So we need further green candles in this range to push up that value area high on this 1 hour in order to push to our 35,643, which we have a 28% chance of doing. The higher chance is that we make a lower high where we are, pull back, try to make a lower low, and if we do make a lower low below that 28,585, then we could see that break down toward that 22,64. So again, that did get moved. We may just do like one bigger order actually. So we'll cancel this order, and actually we'll wait till the end of the video because all my orders are going to cancel anyway, but we may want to do just a bigger order below the support range because again, just like Bitcoin, we didn't quite get there. So if we hop back to Bitcoin, we hit that support resistance, we kind of flash and then bump back up. So there isn't always a chance you will push too much below that support resistance, and we did overshoot the attempt in scooping up right here. However, there is still that chance of pushing down on those lower time frames, depending on if we can get a bullish trend here or not. We do have a potential for a long lower shadow, but it's also a hammer candle, so if followed by a strong red candle, we're likely going to break away. So graph, we don't quite have that long lower shadow, but again, if we don't break and hold this 31,954 and hold, then it's likely we will see a rejection and continue lower. Stochastic does want to round, VWAP is starting to pull back, momentum is starting to round, so now our MPP is kind of changing, and it just says that we're going to push up. Again, that's dependent on if we can maintain above this resistance area. If we get rejected by this resistance, like you saw Bitcoin where it flashed up above and then saw a rejection right after, then we will push down toward our value area high and possibly test those lower zones. So over on Anchor for the daily, we did get our break forward that we kind of mapped on that lower time frame. So we will delete this as we got our full move up. I believe that was on a head and shoulders. Kind of redo all that. So yeah, that was on the double bottom possibility, I believe, where we got that little double bottom. So the second bottom didn't really form very strong, but we did still break that neckline and continue forward. We got a retest of the neckline and we're continuing again. We do have a lower high though, so I would watch, because if we confirm a lower high here and get lower lows and break that neckline area around that 4440, then it would be likely we would push to that 4196 and potentially break that 4049. Momentum does want to round, VWAP is starting to pull back, stochastic is rounding, so watch that very close. If that stochastic breaks down, RSI will lead price lower and we will reject away. So watch that VWAP is starting to break bearish. If it breaks through that neutral and holds, then it's likely we are going to reject away. So XRP did have the potential for a bull flag, but it did not get there. So XRP does have some highs around like that $3 range, so there is some support resistance in this area. We just don't have that available on KuCoin. It's on other platforms, so we could visit those if we wanted to, but right now we're just going to take it as it is. We did get just shy of that kind of push up here, We did try to get closer to our Fibonacci range, but we kind of got stopped away there. I would watch for a continuation to the downside though. You could try to move your order to right around here. We'll see if that gets canceled or not. And then you could say that's where you want to have your order because we have strong support resistance there. Momentum does want to round, stochastic is starting to pull back, VWAP wants to round, and money flow is bullish but starting to pull back, so watch that VWAP on lower time frames. Over on the 1 hour, we do have a potential for this to be like a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder, so I would watch as that could end up breaking us down and attempt to push us down to that 172. There's a 53% chance we pull back, make a higher low, and then try to continue higher, but we will have to watch if that's possible. The way the VWAP looks right now is in a bit of a bearish trend. Momentum wants to reject and money flow is weakening. So if that VWAP does not reverse in the next couple candles, it's likely we would see that push down. And if we don't hold at that 241, then it's likely we will push to that 228 and potentially break toward that 172 if we're not careful. So over on Algo, last but not least for the daily, so Ondo, just a side note, BlackRock's heavy into that. And there has been some adoption news and other news with Ondo, so that's why it's taken quite a big rip. I'm sure that Algo is kind of in line, as Ondo, Algo, XRP, they're all similar related fields. So if we're going to start seeing these payment networks get used for their niches, then we're probably going to see them explode even more. So that VWAP is bullish, momentum is rounding. We have a red dot, stochastic wants round, and RSI is flat, so I would watch very close on those lower time frames. Over on the 1 hour, we have a lower high with a lower low forming right now, so I would watch as this could form a bearish continuation and it could try to push us below that 37.49. Remember, we do want to try and pick some up down here if we do break that 37.49 and then continue further, but that would be dependent on other market factors like that total breaking down and other coins breaking down as well. VWAP is starting to reject after getting a very weak high. Momentum is rejecting, stochastic is pulling back, and money flow is flashing into the red, so I would take this as a signal that we could break down. You may have a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder, and that may try to bring you lower. So I would watch, remember that shoulder, head, and shoulder, so we'll use our head and shoulder tool right here, and draw that out real quick, and then you could measure from your head to your neckline, apply that pulled from your neckline down, and that would give us a retest of that 44.04. So we could move our buy order right there. If you want, right around that 44.33 will do. So just shy of that, please enter the right date. Oh, so there's our date. So we'll set our expiry way away from here. That way it doesn't expire in 5 seconds. So we will have to fix that on the rest of our orders. And with that, we will hop over to our trading window and we will get those orders fixed now. So our XRP order, we'll click on this. Don't know why, there we go. So modify, it does not give us a time range for this one. So let's see if we can modify this order a little bit. There we go, time range, we'll do it to the end of the month, hit OK. So there we go. So there would be our first buy-in over here on Anchor. Our other buy-in would be right around here. If we're wanting to do a retest of that neckline and buy-in, you could do somewhere around that 44.45. And then we will do that right there. Maybe do only 100 units since we're going a little higher and you want to see if you pull back beyond there or not. Because if we do pull back beyond there or not, then we could end up dropping around this range back here. And again, we could do a way later date. That way it doesn't cancel. So now we'll go over to graph. We have been eyeballing this like 25 area. It does look like we may end up pulling back somewhere around this 26, 24. So maybe you want to take somewhere in the middle here, modify your order, change our date, make that a little later. There you go. And then we would watch that range. If we do break through that range and we can't hold, then maybe we buy somewhere in this range, like back in here around this 23,678. So now over for Bitcoin, we'll modify our order here. So modify order, have that till the end of the month here. So that way, if we do get this pull back, we can try and capitalize on it this time. And then we would want to see if we continue to break away. Remember, if this Bitcoin order does fill and we don't see some strong support in this range, we may do some sort of buy order somewhere around this like 87, 80K. Look at futures. Remember, we do have that futures gap. So we hop over to the daily. That futures gap is around that 76, 77K, and there is still about 77.8% chance of filling that. So there is still a high chance of seeing that breakdown, despite us trying to push forward. That could be in line with that potential for that push forward to 100K not being sustainable. Maybe we get our 100K break, and then we see that rejection, pull back to that 70-some K, get everyone real fearful, and then see a push forward with a higher low in a bigger trend. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a great night. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and join us